All right, let's paint a picture that if you live in Florida, you probably know all too well. It's one of those scorching July afternoons where the air feels just soupy. And then suddenly, silence. That constant, reassuring hum from your AC unit just stops, and a deep, sticky heat starts to creep back into the house. Yeah, that's not just an inconvenience. It's a full-blown system failure. And down here, it happens all the time.
This quote really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? We're talking about a place where a house can become dangerously hot in just a few hours. A working AC is absolutely non-negotiable. The stakes are just so high, which is why we really need to understand what forces are working against your system.
And that's the big question we're tackling today. Why is this state so brutal on our air conditioners? I can tell you, it's not just bad luck, and it's not because you bought a lemon. There is a relentless, invisible war being waged on your HVAC system 24/7. So let's break down the enemy.
We're going to start with the main villain in this whole story, the Florida climate itself. And it's not just one thing. This is a multi-front assault. We're talking about extreme heat, crushing humidity, and believe it or not, even the very ground your home is built on.
And if you want proof, look at these numbers. They're just so stark. A system that could easily chug along for 2 decades in a place like Colorado is lucky to survive past 12 years in Central Florida. That's 8 years of life just gone, wiped out by the environment. First, you've got the sheer, brutal heat. We're talking average summer temperatures of 92 degrees. That forces your system's compressor, which is basically its heart, to run almost constantly. It's like asking a marathon runner to sprint for months at a time. The mechanical stress is just immense.
Then, as if the heat wasn't enough, you pile on the humidity, 90%. That means your AC isn't just trying to cool the air, it's also working overtime to pull gallons of water out of it every single day. All that constant moisture clogs up drain lines, which can cause serious water damage, and it makes all the vital metal parts rust out way faster.
And here's the kicker. It's not even just about the weather. Florida's sandy soil means houses tend to settle over time. When that happens, it bends and cracks the ductwork that's hidden away in your attic and walls. The result? A staggering 20 to 40% of that nice, cool air your system is working its tail off to produce just leaks out. It never even reaches you. You are literally paying to air condition your attic.
So, we've covered the why. The climate is just an absolute beast. Now, let's get into the what. What actually breaks? This constant environmental beatdown leads to some very predictable failures. You can almost think of them as the 4 horsemen of the Florida HVAC apocalypse.
These 4 problems right here, they're the reason for the vast majority of emergency service calls. The compressor just gives out from being overworked, drain lines get clogged up and cause a mess, refrigerant leaks out and your system can't cool anymore, and electrical parts just get fried in the heat. The key thing to realize is, these aren't random accidents. They're the inevitable result of all that constant stress.
Let's zero in on the big one for a second, the compressor. This is the engine of your entire system. When this thing fails, it's not a simple repair. It's like your car needing a whole new engine. It's a catastrophic failure, and yeah, it's an expensive one. So here are the things you need to watch out for. If the air coming from your vents feels warm, or you hear strange grinding and clanking noises coming from the unit outside, or if you find yourself constantly going to the garage to reset a tripped circuit breaker, your compressor is probably crying for help. Catching these signs early really can be the difference between a repair and a full system replacement.
Knowing the warning signs is absolutely crucial. But what happens when it's just too late? When the unit goes silent and that Florida heat starts pouring in? Making that emergency call can be pretty stressful. So let's just demystify the whole process and walk through what it should look like.
Thankfully, the process itself is usually pretty straightforward. First, a tech shows up and diagnoses the root cause of the problem. Now, this next part is key. They should give you clear options and pricing before they start any work. Then, once you approve it, they get the repair done and test the whole system to make sure that cold air is flowing again. No surprises, no gray areas.
Okay, let's talk about the part everybody really wants to know about and probably dreads the most, the cost. How much is this actually going to set you back? Let's take a look at a typical breakdown.
As you can see, a simple maintenance visit is pretty manageable. A minor repair, like replacing a capacitor, might be a few $100, but the cost jumps way up for a major repair, like that compressor we were talking about. That can easily run you into the thousands. And a full system replacement, well, that's a major home investment. This is what makes it so critical to know when to stop repairing and start replacing.
And that brings us to our final and maybe most valuable takeaway from all of this. When you're staring down a pricey repair on an older system, how do you make the smart financial call? Well, there's a really simple rule of thumb that can help.
It's called the $5,000 rule. All you do is multiply the age of your air conditioner, in years, by the estimated cost of the repair. If that number comes out to more than $5,000, replacement is probably the smarter choice in the long run.
Let's look at a perfect example. Say your system is 12 years old, which, as we know, is pushing the end of its life here in Florida. The text says you need a $500 repair. So you do the math. 12 years times $500 equals $6,000. Since $6,000 is more than that $5,000 threshold, this rule is telling you that you should really think hard about putting that repair money toward a new, more reliable, and more efficient system instead.
So think about it. Your AC is like a soldier on the front lines, fighting a battle against the Florida climate day in and day out, nearly year-round. So after seeing everything we've talked about today, the final question you've got to ask yourself is this: is your system ready for what's coming next?